So now we're going to talk to Lilah, who's a designer at Big Fish and is leading on the creative AI implementation there. So hi, Lilah.
Hello. Nice to be here.
We're really pleased to have you. So we're going to start off with quite a big question.
Yeah.
First of all, could you just walk us through how your creative process has evolved since you started using AI tools?
Yeah. So I think AI has opened up a whole kind of world that can expand your own thinking. Obviously, initially, it still needs to be your own kind of mind doing the heavy lifting and have those initial thoughts. But it really allows one to kind of delve deeper into an idea before you then kind of go into crafting it yourself and all of those things. And I think one of the main things I've found really helpful is to be able to visualize quickly, whereas before AI came along, everything was sort of might be a quick sketch or a doodle. It now can actually be quite a refined thing, which you can then share internally with your creative director or whoever that might be, and it be quite a polished thing. That isn't to say that it's kind of replacing what will then be the final product, but I think it's really a brilliant way of getting what's in your head onto paper very quickly.
So you can test ideas faster that way?
Yeah. So recently I've been working on a vegan meat brand, and I sort of had this idea of anthropomorphism and sort of animals taking on human characteristics. And that was sort of something that I initially got from visiting a gallery in a museum and kind of taking notes and sketching. But then I wanted to kind of blow that up. So then I used ChatGPT and Midjourney and other AI tools to really build that idea out. And it kind of took me down a whole Greek mythology and stuff, just kind of really broadened out what I hadn't maybe already thought of. So I think rather than it being replacing the need for human thought, it's a lovely kind of tool to support you.
Do you think it connects different dots and you might not have done yourself?
Exactly that, yeah. I think so. I think it can kind of make you think more laterally rather than in a linear way.
Yeah, I love that the original idea came from a gallery.
Yeah.
Maybe the AI gave you time to go to the gallery.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's another very obvious point is efficiency. It's made things that were quite time consuming a lot quicker, which leaves time to maybe actually do the things that as a creative we really need to do, which is go see the world and pick up ideas and draw and sketch. Because really that's where true creativity comes from, I think. Yeah. And mine was as simple as seeing a carved wooden kind of pediment on a door at the British Museum was kind of like the thinking. So it's a great tool.
As your kind of creative process has evolved with AI, I guess what at the start of using AI, what were or before you even did, what were your biggest concerns about it, and have those played out, or have different things come up, I guess, along the way?
I think so. I was surprised how much I've really enjoyed leaning into it, and my initial feelings on it were quite fearful, I think lots of people are, and sort of is this tool about to take over my job? Do I still have a place? Or is this industry one that's kind of...
It's a good one to be in.
Yeah,
still.
Exactly. You have all those fears, but actually, from everything I've just said previously, I now view it completely differently, and I think what I've been really surprised by is I've learnt through interacting with AI, I've learnt myself, so sort of working on projects where you kind of hone the prompts and refine to get the outcomes you want is almost like a sort of exercise
an art form
in art directing. Yeah, it's sort of imagine rather than being in the room and you're sort of instructing people, you're just interacting with another form of creativity. So I think I was also a little bit nervous well, it can do everything better than me. Can it, skill-wise, how can it create 4 options for me in a matter of seconds? Can be a bit frightening because it's pretty mind-blowing, some of the stuff it can do. But again, now I don't view it like that. I view it as a great way to get that initial concept on paper, but actually I'm still always going to need to take it back and craft it and put the human touch back in, because I really think that's not going anywhere. People want that, and they, what gets people excited is the human touch, and I think that will always need to be there, maybe even more so than ever now there's AI, because anyone can use these tools, but it's how you kind of choose to use them that's important, I think.
Yeah, so it's really about, for you, it's really about the power of it is in developing the ideas really quickly and better, or in a different way than you might have before, and more options.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a different way of working, but I'd say it's one that is aiding the process and creating time where I would have probably faffed for quite a long time on things that were less important. So it's really a useful tool. Yeah.
Brilliant. Can you give an example of a project? You don't have to give any client names or anything, but like the type of project where AI has helped you achieve something that you might not have been able to do without AI, or something that's really sort of been able to use it to innovate with.
Yeah. So I think photographically it's been a huge help, and I've worked on some projects recently where we've been able to achieve outcomes that are way beyond what we could have done before AI, and that has saved on kind of budget, time, logistics, but created like outstanding results, and that's been really exciting to see. I think it's interesting then having those conversations with the clients who can't quite believe that it is all AI. We've kind of played that trick a few times of showing them the work, and then the big ta-da moment of, well, actually, this is much of this work is created with AI, and they don't quite know how to react. It's sort of like gobsmacked. But now, like I was at the start, that kind of fear that they initially have has kind of faded away, and they're totally on board and really embracing it. So I think it's really exciting, the possibilities it's opened up in that regard. And like I was saying before, you can be a photographer and an art director all just in front of your laptop, which is amazing.
Yeah, it really is. And I guess it's powerful in so many ways. It's like if you're a small brand, you're able to do things that your budgets wouldn't have made possible before. Absolutely. I guess. And if you're a bigger brand, you can do things that just creatively you couldn't have done before.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and what it can't do is take your product and drop it into that world. So there is still the element of, perhaps in a few years' time that will be the case, but for now, it's a blend of your own skills. You're still using Photoshop with the product or whatever that thing you're working on might be, with the sort of background and the AI together. So I think the most effective way I've found of working is the two together. It's not a sort of AI is going to be the answer to everything. It's like a dance between designer and the AI, which creates the best outcome. Yeah,
it's a really nice way to put it. Yes, it's not like a binary choice, one or the other.
Exactly.
It's together.
Yeah. So I think that some people can be a bit nervous about it being quite a solitary process, just being sort of you and the AI and being stuck on your laptop, but actually it's still very much a collaborative process. You might spend a couple of hours putting out a few iterations, but then you'll come back together as a team and look at those and bounce those ideas off each other again and kind of go away and regroup. And so it is still very much a collaborative process. And I think that is a fear people have, is that they might sort of, is it going to take away all human interaction? But I don't think that's the case. And I think we all still need that interaction, and it's important, and it's a massive part of the creative process, because without many brains, you're not going to get the best results. So you still need to have that element of collaboration.
Totally. And I think there's like this interesting rise. There's a rise in AI artists as well. So I think, for some really specialist projects, you'll probably bring in AI artists in different disciplines as well. And it's just a collaboration with another form of creative, I guess.
Absolutely.
And there may be people who are doing a non-AI craft beforehand. So it's just,
it's a shift, I think, rather than a total takeover.
Yeah, it's interesting because perhaps instead of hiring a photographer, you're actually for the right brief, you're hiring an AI artist or an AI artist that works with AI photography or videography, who may have been a traditional photographer or a videographer before. There's I've seen a lot of people pivoting from those professions recently. So it's collaboration still, but just with people using different tools, essentially.
Absolutely.
To do the same product, but in a different way.
And I think that's what we're doing as graphic designers. We're kind of having to adjust our skill set to work with AI and kind of open up avenues that maybe I hadn't explored before, So it's really quite exciting. There's a lot of potential, I think, and it's almost, creating new ways of working and jobs in some way.
No, absolutely.
Rather than, it's interesting to tip it on its head and think that actually it's creating this new kind of wave of creativity rather than fearing it.
Has AI changed the way that you collaborate with either your team members or your clients, or how you work with your clients?
I think it's made the process a lot more streamlined. We can now share with our clients the kind of initial thoughts and maybe the ideation and conceptual routes that we're exploring earlier on. And then there's it forms quite a nice relationship, because we're able to kind of bounce between the two and change things quite quickly and kind of iterate on something again and again until we're kind of in a place where we're all aligned and want to explore it further. And then it would go back to kind of, how are we going to craft this? How are we going to execute it? Rather than, obviously it's not a finished product, but it has made that relationship stronger. And I think that they enjoy, the clients enjoy it because they feel part of it. And
like part of the process earlier on.
And especially as we work with a lot of kind of startup companies, I think when it's your baby, whatever that product might be, whether it's a food or a drink or a pet food or whatever, I think it's really enjoyable to see it go through the process of being kind of thrown around many times. And sometimes we do something called a vibe show, which is kind of showing lots and lots of different visual stimulus on a pack and kind of going, okay, what works? What do we like? What do we hate? And AI has really made that a great way of working, we found. And because it's as important to know what's not working for us to reach an outcome that it is working. So it's been great working with clients. And then internally, what's really nice is that we can all see what we're working on as a studio. So it's actually great kind of if you're working on a pizza brand that you can kind of, lean across the room and go, oh, that's really good. How did you get that result? And you can kind of teach each other tips and tricks. And I think as a studio, we're all kind of improving from learning off each other, which has been lovely to see, because before that it was, lots of sketches, and we still do that, but it's fun exploring this new kind of piece of kit.
Because you can bring it to life earlier as well, so you can share the projects.
Exactly, and we can get those sort of high rendered, quite slick looking results, whereas before that might have taken months and months.
Right.
So it's sort of, it's changed the process, but for the better.
Yeah, brilliant. So I know you've been using AI quite deeply for the last year, and a lot of Midjourney, I think.
Yeah.
What tips would you have to use the tools most effectively? What have you, reflecting on it, what have you learned? Yeah,
so you're right. I use Midjourney a lot for my day-to-day work, and I think what I've found is that the initial sort of generation that you'll be given isn't always the kind of one that you're going to end up going for. Quite often that's just a starting point. And then what I tend to do is take that prompt and kind of look at it and think about what elements I like, what is it, what's working and what's not, and sort of rewrite it, regenerate several times generally, so lots of iterations before I kind of reach an outcome I want. I think sometimes working with ChatGPT to kind of maybe get the language a little bit, the vocabulary slightly stronger.
To work on the prompt.
Yeah, to work on the prompt can be helpful. So you can sort of, I personally think writing is a kind of creative process in itself. So I quite enjoy writing initial prompts without the help of ChatGPT, but everyone's different. Some people like to kind of flesh it out right from the start. But I quite enjoy writing that and then sort of maybe going back to ChatGPT to kind of say, can you refine that, or can you expand on that? Can you give me more adjectives for the colour blue that I'm trying to get, whatever it might be. And that can be really helpful. And then I'll sort of go back to Midjourney. So again, it's sort of working across a few different platforms to reach the kind of best outcome. And also using some of the other tools that Midjourney has, so you can sort of rub out bits of the image and kind of replace it with other bits. So you can get pretty close to what you want, but I would suggest my tip would be keep going with it for quite a while until you really reach your desired outcome, and that is normally about 20 to 50 down the road. So it can take quite a while. And I think here we say that we as the designers are now the arbiters of taste, and actually anyone can go write a prompt, but it's really who is directing it to get the best outcome that matters. Yeah, absolutely. That's a really nice way to put it. And there's something, when you were saying that, how long it can take to get the right one. There's something also about having like a conversation with the AI to get the right one, and like keep going back and iterating, then going to ChatGPT and talking to that, some brainstorming there, and then going back in. It's like, it's a whole conversation. It is a conversation, and it really does feel like you can use it as a sort of assistant, almost a friendly one to help you achieve things that weren't possible. And I found it a really enjoyable thing, actually, not something that's been a chore. It's really interesting to see how it gets stronger and better. The more information you give it, the better and better it gets. So it's sort of like, and that in turn teaches you how to prompt it better. So it's like a little relationship with the AI. There's something like quite satisfying about teaching it to get better, and then it gets better. And I don't know if it's just in my mind, or if when you're on a particular project and you're working on something, I think I've noticed it gets better and better at that thing that you're working on. It will. Yeah. Because it's suddenly like, oh, okay, I know what a human hand looks like because you've asked me to do it 50 times. Whereas maybe at the start you're getting something that looks like a sort of rotten carrot, and it can honestly be funny at times. Like there are moments where you think, what the hell is going on? Like, that is not what I was asking for. And you just sort of have to laugh and try again. And I think that is part of the process with it, because, it is an AI. It's not a human, and it's not always going to know what was I trying to do the other day? A rice cake, something that I thought would do really well and quite simple. Could not understand what a rice cake was. It looked like a sort of weird splodge of like, I don't know, like rice pudding or like baby sick. But then we got there eventually. You know, it took a while, but so you can, you know, and we've got a whole bloopers channel in the studio of sharing funny stuff that it produces. So, you know, you can have a laugh along the way, which is quite fun.
I mean, even humans misinterpret what people ask us sometimes.
Exactly.
So,
we can't all get it right the whole time.
Yeah. How do you maintain your creative originality and perhaps your personal sort of intent or design intent when you're using AI tools, when they might take you off in a different way? Or does it matter, I guess?
I think I've found that it's quite easy to lose sight of your original idea. And it's really important to keep coming back to that, because actually, you know, it's been born out of something that you've seen or had this brilliant idea, and the AIs, you can produce so much so quickly that it's quite easy to go off on a tangent. So I think constantly referring back to your kind of starting point, whether that be a quick sketch or a mind map or whatever it is a really useful way to keep on track. You know, recently I worked on a project that we used AI to produce some of the photography, but then we sort of brought in hand-drawn elements and illustration over the top of the images, which kind of really kept a sense of the handcrafted. And I think the end result, you know, you wouldn't even know, hopefully, that AI had kind of done some of the work. But yeah, I think constantly referring back to what was the kind of original idea is a sure way to kind of stay on track.
Perhaps more important in some.
Yeah. Because otherwise you can quite quickly get sidetracked, I find.
Yeah. Do you have any tips on how you do that? Do you like stick
I
your
basically just
illustration on your
make sure,
screen?
I look at it every day, because I'm guilty. I mean, I am guilty of going on a tangent. I think that's the way the creative mind works sometimes. You know, it's like, it's very like, there's lots going on, and you've got all these great, crazy ideas. But the nature of AI can really stimulate you too much, and then it's sort of like, now I've got this whole kind of other route that I want to do, when actually you just need to hone in. And I think keeping your notes firmly in front of you, or your drawing, or whatever that might be, you know, tape it in front of your face is my best tip, to be honest.
That's a good tip. I need to use that tip more. So last question. What advice would you give designers just starting out using AI?
I think have fun with it, to be honest, at the start. It will blow your mind, probably, to begin with. I remember when it blew my mind for the first time, and you just can't believe that software like this exists. But I think once you lean into it and you embrace it, you'll realize that it is actually there to help you, and really can be a great way to expand your thinking, expand your creative possibilities, and don't be fearful of it, I think is the main thing. It's not here to take over. You still have a place in this world and this industry, and it's just there to sort of support you. So I think have fun with it, have a laugh along the way, and embrace it.
Brilliant. So well said. Thank you. Thanks so much, Lilah.
No problem. Thank you for having me.